So Hunter Biden is definitely in trouble right now. This guy was subpoenaed for a closed-door testimony to Congress. This means they wanted to question him about all of these shell businesses and the information relating around the funding from foreign companies that went through these businesses and eventually to his father. But not only is Hunter Biden in trouble, his father is in big trouble too. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. I'm going to tell you why Hunter Biden did what he did today, which was just incredible. I'm going to play the video for you. I will be stopping it at points just to give you some information on what he's doing, what he's saying, and why, and then ultimately share with you what I think can happen and what may happen, because there's a few possibilities here. Ultimately, all of this is going to end very poorly for Hunter Biden, but the bigger point is it's likely going to impact Joe Biden too. And I know we've been waiting for this to happen. So many people are like, when is Congress going to do something? When are the Republicans going to finally act on this? Well, they're doing it. They are acting on it. And I'm not guaranteeing you anything, but there's no way that this ends well for either of them. So let's get into it.
Good morning. I'm here today to answer at a public hearing any legitimate questions Chairman Comer and the House Oversight Committee may have for me.
Okay, I'm going to stop him already because there's two things you need to know. He's saying, I'm here to answer at a public hearing. No, you're not, Hunter. This is not a public hearing by court order and subpoena. It is a closed door, private hearing. So what Hunter's doing here is saying, I don't care what the court says. I don't care what the Congress is saying. I don't care about the subpoena. I'm going to tell you what it is. It's going to be a public hearing. And second, he uses a qualifier in his next statement where he says, I will answer legitimate questions. So what? You won't answer all the questions, but only the legitimate ones? Who's going to determine which questions are legitimate? Let me guess. Hunter is going to decide what questions are legitimate, so he will decide when and when he will not answer these questions. Right off the bat, 5 seconds in, this guy is an arrogant piece of you-know-what.
I'm here today to make sure that the House Committee's illegitimate investigations of my family do not proceed on distortions, manipulated evidence, and lies. And I'm here today to acknowledge that I've made mistakes in my life and wasted opportunities and privileges I was afforded. For that, I'm responsible. For that, I'm accountable. And for that, I'm making amends. But I'm also here today to correct.
Just a quick stop. This is called playing the victim. So this guy has been involved in some criminal activity here, actually quite a bit of criminal activity. And what he's doing is trying to appeal to the emotion. So he's throwing out there, hey, I'm the victim. I'm being attacked by the government. Please be on my side. This is a tactic that many people will use, especially when they are completely in the wrong.
How the MAGA right has portrayed me for their political purposes. I am first and foremost a son, a father, a brother, and a husband.
Appealing to the emotion.
And supportive family. I'm proud to have earned degrees from Georgetown University and Yale Law School. I'm proud of my legal career and business career. I'm proud of my time serving on a dozen different boards of directors. And I'm proud of my efforts to forge global business relationships. For 6 years, MAGA Republicans, including members of the House committees who are in a closed-door session right now, have impugned my character, invaded my privacy, attacked my wife, my children, my family, and my friends.
He's continuing to play the victim. He does say rightly they are meeting in a closed-door session. That's right, because at this very moment, they were waiting for him to arrive by subpoena. But he decided not to, like an arrogant individual. And just so you know, Donald Trump's family has been subpoenaed many, many, many times by Democrat leadership. And you know what they do? They always go to those hearings. Every single time. You know what they don't do? March out with a camera crew and a podium and issue statements like this.
They've ridiculed my struggle with addiction. They've belittled my recovery. And they have tried to dehumanize me, all to embarrass and damage my father, who has devoted his entire public life to service.
Joe Biden has devoted his entire public life to service. A man who is worth tens of millions of dollars. He has mansions, private parties, everything he wants. This is the guy. He's really devoted, not the teacher that's making $33,000, not the cop or the officer or the military personnel or the first responder. No, not that person. Joe Biden, who has all the recognition and power in the world, including tens of millions of dollars. He's really been the person who's been providing public service. Okay, sorry, it's not working with me.
For 6 years, I have been the target of the unrelenting Trump attack machine, shouting, "Where's Hunter?" Well, here's my answer. I am here. Let me state as clearly as I can.
Just so you know, the liberal media took that statement, the "Where is Hunter? I am here," as their lead headline from this entire thing. Just so you know, this is how the liberal media operates. So they're watching this same nonsense that you're watching, and they were like, oh, let's run with that. Hunter says, "Where's Hunter? I am here," challenging them, right? It makes him look like the hero. It's so stupid, but this is what they do.
My father was not financially involved in my business, not as a...
I had to stop it again. My father was not financially involved in my business. Again, that's another qualifier. He's not saying my father wasn't involved in my business. My father wasn't financially involved in my business. People use qualifiers when they're trying to hide something. It's the only reason why they would use it, because the stronger statement would simply be, my father was never involved in any of my businesses at all, at any time. But he's not saying that because he knows it's not true.
Practicing lawyer, not as a board member of Burisma, not in my partnership with a Chinese private businessman, not in my investments at home nor abroad, and certainly not as an artist. During my battle with addiction, my parents were there for me. They literally saved my life. They helped me in ways that I will never be able to repay. And of course, they would never expect me to. And in the depths of my addiction, I was extremely irresponsible with my finances. But to suggest that is grounds for an impeachment inquiry is beyond the absurd. It's shameless.
Nobody is suggesting that at all. In fact, you're the only one that's suggesting that. What they're suggesting is that you were involved in criminal activity with all of these funds you're receiving from foreign companies, and then putting through all of these businesses, these accounts, over 20 of them, shell companies that this guy created, which offered no services to anyone ever. Zero services, but 20 shell companies. It seems like the only thing that these companies were doing was funneling money from one company to the next. So no, that's not why the impeachment hearing is happening. It's happening because it looks like you were involved in criminal activity, and it looks like your father was receiving money from it. That's why it's happening. This is very serious, Hunter. He's coming out here trying to play the victim, but when sheep watch this, when liberals and Democrats watch this and they think, oh my goodness, look, they're being so mean to this guy, they don't actually understand the reality of the situation. Let's continue on.
There is no evidence to support the allegations that my father was financially involved in my business.
Used another qualifier again, that he was financially involved in my business. What are you talking about financially? Why don't you just use he was never involved in my business? And this idea that there's no evidence is ridiculous. There's tons of evidence. Every time I watch these news media sources and they play this stuff all the time, they always say, and there's no evidence, there's no evidence, like little parrots. There's tons of evidence out there. I mean, so much evidence that to not have hearings like this would be criminal on the part of the government.
Because it did not happen. James Comer, Jim Jordan, Jason Smith, and their colleagues have distorted the facts by cherry-picking lines from a bank statement, manipulating texts I sent, editing the testimony of my friends and former business partners, and misstating personal information that was stolen from me. There is no fairness or decency in what the...
Misstating personal information that was stolen to me. The laptop. That's what he's talking about. Remember when you tried to say it wasn't yours? And then you remember when you tried to say it was just a Russian plant, Russian misinformation? Now he's admitting that it was stolen from him. I mean, this is pretty big. And then he's trying to say that all the other information has been manipulated. That's why you're having a closed door hearing, my friend, so that they can ask you very specific questions about all of this information that they're finding. And that's why you don't march yourself outside and have your own little public hearing in front of everyone, which is against the law and against the subpoena. But this guy's a criminal, and this is the kind of stuff criminals do.
These Republicans are doing. They have lied over and over about every aspect of my personal and professional life. So much so that their lies have become the false facts believed by too many people. No matter how many times it is debunked, they continue to insist that my father's support of Ukraine against Russia is the result of a non-existent bribe. They displayed naked photos of me.
I'm not exactly sure that that's 100% true. I think people just think that Joe Biden's support of Ukraine, giving taxpayer money to the tunes of hundreds of billions of dollars, is completely irresponsible right now. When we have an open border, we have so much crime in the United States of America, and we are not financially under control in our own country. Just to hand out taxpayer money like this is complete corruption. Now, there may in fact be ties there, but those are things that have to be figured out through a lot of investigation. But to just jump to that conclusion makes me think again that you're trying to hide something.
And they have taken the light of my dad's love, for me, and presented it as darkness.
The light of my dad's
love.
They
have no shame. These same committee chairmen have engaged in unprecedented political interference in what would have already been a 5-year investigation of me. Yet, here I am, Mr. Chairman, taking up your offer when you said we can bring these people in for depositions or committee hearings, whichever they choose. Well, I've chosen. I am here to testify at a public hearing today to answer.
The unfortunate truth for you, Hunter Biden, is you actually don't have a choice, because by court rule, you have been subpoenaed to a closed hearing for a very particular reason. There's a purpose for it, and you are arrogantly and criminally going against that.
Answer any of the committee's legitimate questions. Republicans do not want an open process where Americans can see their tactics, expose their baseless inquiry, or hear what I have to say. What are they afraid of? I'm here. I'm ready.
I want to talk to you a little bit about.
Good morning. I'm here today.
This is called projection. What are they afraid of? Reality? What are you afraid of, Hunter? And this is what he's afraid of, because I'm going to tell you straight up what he's afraid of. The moment he gets into that closed hearing, these are the kinds of questions they're going to ask him. So, Hunter, we have this email, this message, and it says this amount of money is going to the big guy. Hunter, who is the big guy? We need you to identify who the big guy is. Now, Hunter already knows that the big guy is Joe Biden, but he can't say that, because the moment he says that, he's criminally implicating his father, and it's over at that point. So most likely what Hunter would do is fail to answer that question. He would just simply refuse. He would do something like, I am not able to answer a question like that because it would be against whatever he would say, but it would be against nothing. I don't think he could make up a name, because then he would have to plan and plot the whole thing out with the individual, and there would be too much evidence surrounding that to debunk whatever made up story he gives. The reason Hunter doesn't want to go into that closed hearing is because he doesn't want to be asked hard questions like that. And that's just one question. There are so many other hard questions, like, Hunter, you have 20 shell companies set up. What were these companies doing? Why does it look like they were providing no services, zero services? Hunter, why do we only see money funneled from account to account? What is going on here? This guy would have had one of the hardest closed hearings ever, and he was sweating bullets and knew he could not go in there. And so he made this decision to ignore the subpoena and then offer this public statement, which is highly against the rules, against the law, criminal, again, because this guy is a criminal, because he knew what was going to happen. Now, there's no way he can answer these hard questions. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens, because right now he's already broken the law. And what does the law say about this? Well, a couple things can happen. Number one, he can be arrested for this. And actually, they're pushing for him to be arrested. He can be fined up to $1,000. And he can go to prison for up to 1 year because of this. It is possible. We've already seen it. I believe Bannon was put in prison for 4 months for not going to a subpoenaed hearing. So it's very possible that this could happen here. Now, of course, he's Joe Biden's son. So is that going to happen? If you asked me, I would probably say, no, it's not going to happen. Are they going to arrest him? I think it's a 50-50. I don't really know what's going to happen because it's so political right now, right? And so everyone's watching. How are they going to deal with this? But I do know this. That guy has to go into a closed hearing. And if he refuses, this is the first time he's refusing, he can face this up. But if he continues to refuse this investigation, which I think he kind of has to do, because he knows the answers to the questions are going to implicate his father in highly illegal criminal activity in which his dad, Joe Biden, did in fact receive money from foreign countries and foreign companies through Hunter Biden's shell companies that eventually reached Joe Biden's accounts through just a crazy criminal way. If he answers these questions, and he's going to be forced to, it's over. So the walls are tightening in, and that's why he did this, because up until now, the walls weren't tight enough. But now he basically got squished into a pretty tough spot where he actually knew he couldn't go to this hearing because it would essentially be the end. So this was his last-ditch effort. Now, what's going to happen next? This is going to be really interesting to follow, because he really doesn't have a way out of this. And the Republicans need to keep the pressure on. You cannot just be like, well, okay, he didn't come, so let's back off. This cannot happen. They need to keep the pressure on, and we need to see what's going to happen, because this guy and his family are sweating bullets right now for sure, because they know they're involved in all of this. You can simply tell by the way he's making the statements. Any person with enough logic and information watching this knows what's going on here. They can see every tactic from this guy, everything from claiming the victim to his qualifier words to distorting the truth. There's a lot happening here, and it's very telling that this guy, in fact, knows he's in big trouble. What say you? I would love to hear your opinion on this one. Please leave your comments below. I'll catch you on the next video.